Hiya, today I'm looking at a wheel bearing on an Audi A6. This one's making a noise when you're doing anything over 20 miles an hour. It's the front wheel bearing, so I'll change it and show you what's involved. When I hold this suspension arm knuckle there, when I hold that and spin the wheel, I can actually feel it vibrating. I don't feel it so much holding the spring. Like usually I'll hold one of the springs. Not feeling it that way, so at least I know it's this side, because sometimes you can hear it in the car but I'm not sure what side it is, so I like to spin the wheels as well. It's definitely this side, so I'll get the wheel off and figure out what's involved in doing it. I've got these pliers that I've seen Steve Scott using. They're for pulling relays, but they're great for these sort of hubcap, wheel cap things. They work, so I've got the plastic ones as well that you get with Peugeots, but they sometimes don't grip it enough if it's really stuck on there. So I find these work better, even though they're made for relays. They do a great job on this. I've taken the wheel off and I'm going to start. I'm obviously going to have to remove the brakes, the caliper and the carrier. I'm going to have to remove the disc of this little Torx and this hex. It's a 17, so I'm going to take that off first if it'll come out. Get this stuff out the way. I think it's one of those bearings that just bolts on from the back. I've not even opened the box yet. So I'll get this off and then start weighing up what else I've got to do. Or see if that's quite rusty, so I'm going to give that a little tap and see if that helps. Take the socket off here. That's rusted on as well. That's the thing when you work in the rain in all weathers. Things go rusty. Okay, let's give this a go. No, that's just going round. So what I'll do is have a lever on there. Don't want that to round off. I'm going to get a lever, like a breaker bar, and get someone to put the foot on the brakes whilst I do this with a lever. My wife in the car pressing the foot brake, one wheel bolt in here, so I'm not relying on that tiny screw alone. And then this is a 3/4 inch, don't know how long, breaker bar with an adapter to go to the 1/2 inch drive. And that's got it turning quite easily, so now I should be able to take it the rest of the way with the impact gun. Now I've got this T30 Torx, and I'm going to use this impact. I've already cracked it loose because I couldn't get it without hitting it, but it was too tight. I didn't want to round that off. So that's come out now. So next, caliper. What's holding that on? I'll have a little look and get back to you. It's two 21mm bolts that go there, and the whole caliper comes off with the carrier. Just disconnected that first so I didn't have that stretch, that wire. But it's hanging on the suspension arm. I may have to hang it up here, out the way. But here's the bolts, the threads on this side. You see they're not looking great, so I'll wire brush them and lube them up. And then see if I can even get to them from the other side. I might have to pull the drive shaft through a bit to get a socket onto them, I don't know yet. That's handy. I use this wheel bearing sort of punch through there, and it's pushed the drive shaft out far enough that I can still wiggle this about. Should be able to get onto these bolts. There's one there. I don't know if you can see it. And there's one. If I get onto those, then that's it done. Hopefully this comes out and then I'll pull this off. That's allowed me to get the M12 socket onto here. The M12, you know, like that multi-spline or triple hex, but I got the shorter one, so I needed room to fit it in. On there, and I've got a 1/2 inch drive flexi headed ratchet, and I'm going to just work my way, get them out, and then nothing really to see. I'm just working a ratchet, but they're really tight, so that's why I've gone for that one. Once I've got those out, I'll show you how I'm going to pull this off here. I'm using this again. That's the make. There's other ones out there. It's got this extra plate that came with it welded on. I've used it on a few cars and it's worked every time. So I'm going to try it on this one. It's usually quite good. A lot of being a mobile mechanic, you actually need somewhere to work on your car. That's trying to find somewhere to safely work on it, or out the way of people. And I'm looking into something to get my own place, so it'll make it easier to know I've definitely got somewhere to go to. But I'll update you on that when it happens. So I just got to put them in with the gun, because they're not going in far enough yet. I'll lube up these threads because it's all dry. And I'll put them in a little bit more. So there, it's a bit loose. Usually wheel bolt threads and bolts aren't this tight. So this may not work because I like it to be tight against it. So when you hit it with the hammer, all the shock goes into removing the bearing instead of just rattling this. That's a bit better on one bolt. Right, let's try that. I got a heavier hammer than the one I usually use. Let's see if it comes out. That a few times. I think it's already moved it. You see in here that crack down there? There's a crack there, a gap. So I'm going to hit this again. Yeah, that's gone. It's almost there. Yeah, it's getting there. Really is getting there, a bigger gap now. I'll put some of this scoosh in, WD-40, and try again. Hopefully it'll go. Yeah, that's about as far as it's going, so I might have to reposition it and try it again. This setup should work because I can hit it side on now instead of just from the top. Can't really get it from the bottom that well. Try and lower this a bit. There, and slightly from the bottom. There. I'll try and hit it that way and see if it comes off. Oh, I missed it. Yeah, that's coming out. So I'm working a gap down this side all the way up. So I'll just rotate it to this side. Kind of can't get it from underneath. So this is the best I can do. So if I move this jack handle, I should be able to hit that. Okay. See that? Came out with one hit that time. So it's just using ways to get it out. Sometimes you think outside the box. And that worked fine. I think when I was hitting it at the top, I didn't need to hit it so many times because it wasn't achieving anything once it broke it a little bit. Just going side on and side on's all it needed. So I'll clean this crap up here. There's corrosion from the alloy. I'll get all that shit cleaned up and put the new bearing in. But this is the problem. Don't know if you can hear it, but yeah, it's really bad. Like I say, 20 miles an hour upwards, you can hear that going on. So I'll get that cleaned up and fit the new one, basically the reverse, these bolts. I didn't want to mess up that multi-spline or triple hex at the end and have to start drilling it, so I made sure I didn't put the impact on there. There's a time for the impact and that wasn't one of them, a bit like the center hub bolt. Didn't want to ruin it. So there's times that you use a lever and control what you're doing. Apart from that though, this tool's been pretty easy for me again. And the only thing I've got to do after changing this is put a reverse light bulb in the car. And then it's going for its MOT inspection tomorrow. Okay. Unfortunately, it's just the bearing on that bit that I've got. So I've got to take this flange out of there. Okay. To reuse it. So I'll press that out and put that in there. That's it set up. Maybe this will work. I'll get it set up in the press. I'm trying to get it, because that's all we've got, you see. We need to get the flange out of there and into here. So with this little press, I've got a bearing separator out of a bearing set, just behind my wife there. And I've got it set on 4 impact sockets. And we'll see if this works. Just got to pump this. I might have to reposition this though at some point, so I'll give it a go, see what happens. Something will go anyway. Oh, that's it, it's working. Look. I'm just pumping the handle. It's gone a little bit and then stopped. Why is it? Oh, it stopped because it's touching the bottom there. So I'm going to have to reposition things, but at least we know it's going to work. Okay, this is going to work. I've repositioned the gap here in these plates so that the part of the hub that the wheel would rest on is now in the V cutaway bit there. So that should give me a bit more movement. I'm going to have to pump this up again because I let it all loose whilst I was doing this. Let's see if we can get it right out. Yeah, no bother at all with the right tools. It just comes right out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's left the inner race on the flange. Kind of expecting that. So another thing, when you finish with a hydraulic ram, always put it back up so you don't get the rust on the surface. That's one thing I was taught. So let's see now what happened to this. Yeah, the inner race is in, so what we can do is use my grinder and cut the inner race off, but this worked fine. Using these as spacers, sometimes I use the deep impact sockets for the same idea. Some of them I've got the impact sockets out of different sets, and that works because sometimes you want them slightly different sizes. It seems to work anyway, so let's get this set up in a vise. We'll grind this off and chisel that off, grind the inner race off, and then we're ready for putting this new one on. But as you can see, the ABS ring faces away from the flange. That's at the top. Right, so that would have gone that way. So we'll have to put this the same way. Otherwise, we totally made a mess of it if we don't put it the same way. So the ABS ring stays at the top. Okay, I got my battery grinder and the vise. I don't have a workbench yet. Like I say, I'm going to be setting up something a bit better shortly. But this will work. Got the big vise. I'm going to cut this, not deep enough to go into the flange. Don't want to scar that, just enough that when I hit that, this will come off. So here we go. A little bit more. That should do it. Now I'll go and get my, see that? There's my cut. So now I'm going to get a screwdriver. Actually, I need to go to my car to get what I need, but I'm going to knock that off. I'll show you how I do that. Okay, this is a screwdriver that you meant to hit the end. I do have chisels, but I can't find them right now. So, yeah, not ideal, but it might work. Yeah, there we go. So that's off. We do have a slight cut at the back, but that doesn't matter. The bearing's not going to sit on that. The bearing's just going to sit on this bit here. Okay, so now we'll press the bearing onto this after I give that a quick clean up. See on here there is a step, so you'll only get the bearing on one way anyway. So we've got the smaller one and the bigger one, so it's the same here. This in a race is bigger than that one in diameter, so it will only go on one way, you won't mess it up. So that'll go in there. This is facing the right way up. The ABS sensor, not sure if that needs to be on there or off. Let me go and check the other bearing. I don't want to press on top of that bit, so I've got two of them. That did need to come off. It's always best to be sure instead of squashing it all together and then realising you need to take it apart again. So that can sit there this time, and we'll just get this set up. Gonna need a big socket, big enough to press on that in a race. So I don't know if I've got here, but I'll have one. Yeah, I need to find a bigger socket. I'll get this set up and then I'll just record putting it all back together, and of course it goes that way. There we go, I got that set up. Just gotta squash it down. If you buy it with the flange, you wouldn't have to do any of this stuff, you'd be fine. So maybe that's what you should do if you are, and that rotates freely. Yeah, that's all the way. Yeah, that's good. I can take that off there. So yeah, if you don't have a press, just buy the one with the flange. If you don't, there are ways of doing it with hammers and sockets, but so much easier with a press. Now that isn't like the rough one here. That was really rough, so just gotta put it on the car. Like I say, it'll just be the reverse of how I put it on. So I'll just start doing that. I don't know if I'll show any of it, but I do have to do the reverse light bulb as well. Look at that, it only has one bulb here, it doesn't have one in that bit. And if we go to the other side of this, that's the same. So this is an Audi A6. So the reverse lights work. Anyway, I hope some of this is helpful to somebody that wants to give it a go doing their own wheel bearing. And thanks for watching.